Hey guys, welcome to J Reviews. You know, if you've ever even played a video game before, then chances are you probably know what this is. Tetris, released in 1984 by Russian game developer Alexei Pajtunov. The game quickly became very well known worldwide and was ported to just about every single format possible, including of course the NES. So chances are you've heard of this little tune that most people know as the Tetris song. Sound familiar? Yeah. That's in the more sought after Tengen version, which can reach very high prices on eBay, whereas the Nintendo published version replaced it with the Nutcracker. Unfortunately for me, I have the more common version, but the gameplay is essentially the same. So, Tetris. For the two of you out there who's never played it before, the goal is simple. Blocks of 7 different possible shapes fall down. You let them fall in such a way that they take up an entire horizontal line, they disappear, and you get points. The more lines you get in a row, the more points you get. But, if you let the blocks reach the top of the screen, you lose. There's not really much to say here. Tetris is Tetris. I want to move on to the spin-offs. And for the first game I want to show you, I'm going to have to use my laptop. So the first Tetris spin-off game I'm looking at was never ported to any home consoles that I happen to own. Luckily though, the game is abandonware at this point and pretty easy to find online. So the first thing I have to point out on this game is a lack of music, or even sound. Is there any sound in this game? Well, anyway, the gameplay takes an interesting approach to the Tetris we're used to. The view, as the game's title suggests, is you looking down a well. And depending on what angle you place your tetronymos, yes, those things are called tetronymos by the way, they sort of take a different directional gravity. Besides that, the rules are pretty much the same. Get a full line across and then... Oh, I guess the game does have sound. Yeah, you hear it whenever you clear a line or accidentally overlap a block. The red, by the way, means that you can't use that wall anymore. Use them all up and you lose. I think you just wait a while and then it clears up for you. After you play for a while, you'll get an oddly shaped bonus piece. If you get far enough, you even get to see a neat portrait of Alexei himself. I have to admit though, this game isn't all that exciting. Maybe if they just had some music playing, it would liven things up. Okay, so next up, we actually have an NES game. Yeah, it's a pretty popular title. You might have heard of it before. It's Hattress. So when you first hear the name Hattress, what probably comes to mind is Tetris with hats. Well, it's a little different than that. Rather than trying to get a straight line across, your goal here is actually to stack the same type of hat on top of each other, while avoiding putting different hats together. And there are a lot of different hats. They come down 2 at a time, and you can switch which side they fall on. It doesn't really seem like you have much room for strategy at first, but as the stacks build up higher, you have more possible moves, if you react quickly enough. The music is interesting, if a bit odd, and the visuals are a little surreal since you're basically landing hats on disembodied heads. Which, by the way, turn into Frankenstein if you get far enough. All in all, it isn't quite as groundbreaking as Tetris, but it's fun and unique enough in its own right. Alright, next we're moving on to the Super Nintendo with Wordtris. Now right from the beginning, Wordtris starts on a slightly different tone than the other games. I'm not sure what it is, maybe the old Russian circus theme and the almost ominous sounding music. The game itself is sort of a mixture of Tetris and Scrabble. The goal here is to spell any 3-letter words or higher. When you first land a tile on top of another, you expect it to stack, but it doesn't do that right away. First it'll push the tile below it down, and once the tiles have hit the bottom of the screen, then they'll start stacking. Every once in a while you'll get bombs that help you clear unwanted tiles, and a mystery tile that won't reveal what letter it is until you've laid it down. I like the sound the game makes when you get these. It's just a guy going, huh? As you progress, you're rewarded with a change in music and a different picture to the right. All involve circus acts such as a bear on a unicycle and a fire eater. I find this game pretty fun to play, although after playing to a certain point, the tiles come down way too fast for me to really think of words, and I have to rely on lucky accidental spellings to continue. All in all, I found this game pretty fun, and if you're into word games like Scrabble, then you may enjoy it too. Okay, I've got one more game that I'm going to show you today. And this time we're moving on to the third dimension. Here we have Tetrasphere for the N64. This game opens with some of the coolest music yet. It's got like an industrial techno vibe or something. Whatever it's called, I like it. One thing I didn't like though was the fact that I had no idea how to play on my first try. Every other game was pretty self-explanatory, while this one had me puzzled. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to drop the pieces. The game must have known that new players would have trouble though, as they have a training option on the game over screen. I'm usually not a fan of games that you can't just jump into and play, but to its credit, the rules are simple enough. You just need to drop a block right next to another of the same shape, but it needs to be at the same height too. If there are other blocks lined up with it as well, then you can do combos. If you do a big enough combo too, you can also get special items that clear a lot of blocks. The exact goal of the game depends on the game mode, each one having a neat title animation sequence. But to be honest, you're doing pretty much the same thing every time, trying to clear enough spaces in the right areas to either free a friendly robot, or reveal a picture, or whatever the goal happens to be. The manual, interestingly enough, lists a number of characters, all with their own unique stats. Apparently some of them have to be unlocked, but I'm not sure how. Overall, the game is okay. I had fun for a little while, but I didn't really feel the urge to play beyond that. There really isn't anything blatantly bad about it, but it's interesting how even with its spunky music, various game modes, and 3D animations, I'd still rather play the original Tetris. These were all pretty interesting for the most part. I'm not a huge puzzle guy, but I had fun. It may make you wonder though, how did all these weird spin-offs even come into existence? Well, believe it or not, but the original creator of Tetris actually had a hand in making all of the games that I've showed you today. And he continues making games to this day. I heard he just came out with one recently called Marbly for the Apple Store. I wonder if it's any good.